As the sun sank beneath the horizon at Pinecrest International Airport, the terminals took on a warm, golden glow, casting a serene yet bustling energy across the space. Crowds of travelers hurried through the spacious corridors, all moving toward flights destined for cities far and wide. Among them was Miles Carter, a tall, distinguished man in his late 30s with a sharp business style and the calm confidence of someone who had faced countless boardrooms. Known for his sharp mind and strategic thinking, Miles had worked his way from humble beginnings to lead a global logistics firm. But tonight his mind was far from work. After an intense week of high-stakes negotiations for a landmark merger that could redefine the industry, he was looking forward to a rare moment of peace on his journey to Berlin, where his next meeting awaited. Checking his boarding pass, Miles confirmed his seat, B3A in business class. Though he had traveled often and first class was always an option, he liked the practical comfort and subtle privacy that business class offered. As he neared the gate, Miles noticed the welcoming smiles from the gate attendants as they greeted each passenger. When he reached the front, he handed over his boarding pass with a polite nod. The attendant scanned it, glanced at her screen, and returned it with a courteous smile. "Welcome aboard, Mr. Carter. Enjoy your flight," she said. Miles walked down the jet bridge, the faint scent of coffee and fresh air filling the narrow path. Entering the plane, he was greeted by a flight attendant with a practiced smile. "Good evening, sir. Your seat is just down on the left," she instructed, gesturing with a well-trained wave. With a quick nod, Miles moved toward his seat. B3A was spacious, with a comfortable leather seat, a folded blanket, and a glass of sparkling water waiting for him. He stowed his carry-on, settled in, and took a deep breath, savoring the calm atmosphere after the hectic week. He let his gaze wander out the window, watching as the ground crew prepared for takeoff. Just as he leaned back to close his eyes, a shadow loomed over him. Glancing up, he saw the flight attendant from earlier. She no longer wore a welcoming smile. Instead, her expression was hesitant, even slightly tense. "Excuse me, sir," she began softly. "Could I check your boarding pass once more?" Miles blinked in surprise, but handed it over without question. She studied it intently, her brows knitting together in confusion. After a brief pause, she handed it back, murmuring under her breath, "There seems to have been an error with the seating." Miles raised an eyebrow, his calm demeanor giving way to curiosity. "An error?" he asked, keeping his voice even. The attendant hesitated, glancing around nervously. "Yes, it appears your seat was double-booked. We may need to relocate you to economy class," she explained, her tone suggesting she had rehearsed the line many times. A flicker of disbelief crossed Miles's face. He had selected and paid for this seat, confirmed it at check-in, and now he was being asked to move. "My boarding pass says B3A, he said, holding his ground. "I paid for this seat, and I intend to stay here." The attendant's face stiffened. "Yes, but due to a system error, this seat was intended for another passenger. We'll have a comfortable spot for you in economy," she said, her voice slightly edged with impatience. Miles exhaled slowly, keeping his voice steady. "I understand there's been a mistake, but I'm not willing to move. I purchased this seat, and that's where I plan to stay." The situation drew the attention of nearby passengers, who glanced over with a mix of curiosity and discomfort. The flight attendant shifted uncomfortably, then left, promising to return with the cabin manager. After a few tense minutes, the cabin manager appeared, a tall man with a neutral expression. "Good evening, Mr. Carter. I'm afraid we've encountered a problem with our seating system, and we'll need you to move to economy class. As a gesture of goodwill, we'll offer you a voucher for the inconvenience." Miles, unshaken, replied firmly, "I appreciate the offer, but I selected and paid for this seat. I don't intend to move because of an error I didn't make." The manager looked slightly taken aback, but tried to maintain a professional tone. "I understand, sir, but the plane is fully booked. We're simply asking for your cooperation." Miles felt the familiar sting of being challenged in spaces he had rightfully earned. He calmly replied, "I'm staying in this seat. Perhaps another solution would be more suitable." More passengers began to watch, some whispering among themselves. The manager's patience was clearly wearing thin, and he was about to respond when another flight attendant approached. She appeared younger, with an air of curiosity and concern. "Is there a problem here?" she asked, looking from the manager to Miles. "Just a seating mix-up," the manager replied, his tone clipped. But the young flight attendant sensed something was off. She took out a tablet and quickly scanned the passenger list. Her eyes widened as she looked at the screen. "Actually, Mr. Carter's seat is not double-booked," she announced with surprise. "There was no mistake. He's in the correct seat." The cabin manager's expression shifted from disbelief to embarrassment as he processed her words. The flight attendant turned to Miles with a sincere apology. "I'm terribly sorry for the misunderstanding, Mr. Carter. You're right where you should be." Miles nodded, still slightly frustrated but appreciative of the clarity. "Thank you," he replied, keeping his tone polite. With an embarrassed nod, the cabin manager stepped back, motioning for the attendants to return to their posts. Miles leaned back into his seat, a mix of relief and lingering frustration washing over him. Once again, he was reminded of the challenges he faced, even in places he had every right to occupy. As the plane prepared for takeoff, Miles's mind turned to the journey ahead. Soon, he'd be seated with a new team, leading them through the transition that this merger would bring. And in due time, he'd make certain that the next flight he took with this airline would be a very different experience. As the engines roared to life, he felt a renewed sense of determination. This was just one more hurdle in a long journey, and he was ready to clear it. Note, this story highlights the importance of perseverance and self-advocacy in the face of unexpected challenges. It aims to encourage reflection on everyday experiences and the strength it takes to maintain one's rightful place. As the plane lifted into the night sky, Miles settled back, allowing himself to let go of the frustration. He focused on the quiet hum of the engines, feeling the rhythm of the aircraft as it pushed through clouds, carrying him toward new horizons. This flight, with all its unexpected challenges, reminded him of the obstacles he had faced throughout his career. Each time, he had encountered setbacks and moments of doubt. Each time, he had chosen to stand firm. The experience had become more than just a seating issue. It was a reminder of resilience, of his commitment to remain grounded in his sense of worth, no matter the setting. He glanced out the window, watching city lights fade below him, thinking of the significance of his trip. He wasn't just headed to another business deal. He was building something lasting, something that would impact countless lives. The road that had brought him here was lined with sacrifice, hard work, and a refusal to be sidelined, even in subtle ways. Now, with his strengthened resolve, Miles knew he had the power to shape the spaces he entered, whether a boardroom, an airplane cabin, or an industry as a whole. When the plane finally landed in Berlin, he felt a sense of calm readiness. He would meet his new team with the confidence of someone who had earned his place. He would ensure his leadership didn't just break boundaries for himself, but for others following in his path. The world needed more inclusive spaces, and he was determined to be part of the change. At its core, this story highlights the importance of self-respect, resilience, and persistence in the face of adversity. Miles's experience underscores the value of standing firm in spaces we've rightfully earned, even when subtle barriers arise. It serves as a reminder that no matter how far we've come, challenges may arise that make us question our place or our belonging. But moments like these offer a choice: to accept limitations imposed by others or to hold steady, knowing our worth. Miles's quiet determination reveals a powerful message. In a world that sometimes questions whether we belong, our own belief in ourselves is the strongest foundation. By maintaining that belief and advocating for our rightful place, we make it easier for others to do the same. True progress doesn't come from just breaking into new spaces. It comes from changing them so that all feel they belong.